Sorry, but your call cannot be. Sorry, but your call cannot.
And Building Committee meeting. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Holman if she will lead us in an invocation. If everyone would please rise.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us all to make it here safe and sound to our destination. And Heavenly Father, be with us as we do this business of the county and make sure that we are transparent and do everything pleasant and in decent order. We ask that you do this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And I would be remiss, Councilman Crosby is actually on the phone. He is on the right end, so you may hear this voice from the netherworld coming through, and that's Councilman Crosby actually listening in this. We have 4 items on the agenda tonight. The first item is a public hearing and recommendation for second reading of rezoning request number 884 for Robert and Sally Limehouse Cheatham, Sally Limehouse Cheatham, let me get that right, to rezone 13.14 acres located at 171 Min Lane and 2714 Baconsbridge Road near Somerville, TMS number 152-00-00-064 and -065 from Suburban Residential District SR to General Commercial District CG. I will open the public hearing.
Yes, sir. This first item for your consideration is 2 parcels of land located along Bacon's Bridge Road, actually abutting the future library and county park site off of Bacon's Bridge. This is within a quarter mile of the intersection of Dorchester and Bacon's Bridge. On that section of Bacon's Bridge, it's already been improved. So the current zoning is suburban residential, which is a large lot, single-family residential district, which generally isn't in keeping with what we're looking for out here. So the applicant is requesting to rezone to general commercial, not for any particular reason at this time, but for future development potential. When we looked at it, it met all the requirements for the general commercial district. But staff felt that this being 2 parcels, that there may be some difficulty meeting some of the buffer requirements when it went to develop. So staff put forward a recommendation that we look to combine the 2 parcels into one, and when Planning Commission reviewed it, that was their recommendation as well. They recommended approval with the condition that the parcels be combined.
Very good. Is there any public comment?
Yes, sir.
Please. If you'll state your name and address.
Yes, sir. Robert Cheatham, and I'm at 4231 John G. Richards Road, Liberty Hill, South Carolina. May I share, I made a copy of this is the survey. This is from the survey from the LGBT Park.
Y'all still don't have a traffic light in Liberty Hill yet, do you?
I'm sorry?
No traffic lights on Liberty Hill yet, are there?
I'm sorry.
No traffic lights in Liberty Hill yet, right?
Oh, no, sir. We got one stop sign. I say our traffic for us is 7 cars.
I understand.
So,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
it caught me off guard when I went to the zoning meeting last time, and they recommended that it be zoned as 1 parcel rather than 2, and I wasn't adequately prepared for that. What I've given you, I would say Mother Nature or my relatives, for lack of a better word, kind of created that wetland area there in the middle that really separates the 2 parcels. 064 is that parcel that I have outlined in orange. So in my mind, combining the 2 parcels really doesn't do anything. They're still naturally divided by the wetlands there in the middle that I've got highlighted in green on that page. And so I was just gonna, and I don't mind going back and talking to zoning or to the zoning commission that recommended it. And I tried to explain it at that point in time, but didn't have this drawing in front of me at the time. Had I known in advance, I would have brought it. But just, in my mind, there's really no reason to combine both parcels. If we decide to combine them at some later date, then that might be the case. But I was just going to ask that y'all reconsider combining it when you place your vote.
Okay, thank you. So, and I'm going to ask since I'll catch Kiera, but we'll ask some questions and see if we may be able to get some answers to that for you tonight here, just to see. But so, is there any other public comment? I'm going to close the public hearing and see is there any questions, comments from.
Yes, I have a question. Must have been important that everyone wanted these 2 parcels to be combined. Can you tell me?
Yeah, so there was concern that when they go to develop, that they might not be able to meet certain buffer requirements or size requirements, generally, and access as well. So generally, when you've got commercial, you're looking at a larger footprint, particularly with general commercial. We did not have the plat or survey to go off of when we were making that recommendation. So if there are wetlands that are preventing these 2 from playing with each other as one site, thank you, from, interacting with each other as one cohesive site, then if it doesn't make sense to do it because of that, that's.
Having walked the site when the county was purchasing the property where the library is now, there is no question. Somebody asked me about that. I described that, and for lack of a better term, I think when we were walking through there, it was probably more of a mud hole at that point in time. But based on what's growing in that mud hole at the time I walked through, it definitely has had a volume of water in there with the knees and the bases of the trees. So there's no question that's a pretty substantial wetland that almost cuts the property, well, not in half, but divides it very clearly. There was no question. I remembered it not without even having to look at the map, quite honestly, not sure how exactly how it was laid out, but I knew that wetland was there. So.
Yeah, so with this information being presented now showing this wetland, we're fine, with the recommendation to just rezone the 2 parcels individually without the requirement to combine.
I think, and the only concern that I would have, and again, this can be done in the future, just subdivide that general commercial, is based on your comments about buffers and everything else. You've got a 3.1 acre site that when you start with this general commercial, when you start putting some of the buffers that will be required on that, the developable property will be considerably less in that spot. But again, you can make that determination in a future time to eliminate the lot lines and create one single piece. So I don't have there's not an argument either way if that's from my standpoint, having looked at it and walked it, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Crosby,
Yes, sir.
any questions?
The main thing, I was trying to listen. I appreciate the grace and conference calling me in, barreling down 17 on my way back from Myrtle Beach for a conference. But the traffic, would there be an intersection connection here across from Tyvola? A light or any, I know that's putting the cart before the horse a little bit. but-
Yeah, a lot of it will be determined by the end use that goes there and how many trips it will generate.
That'd be a DOT, ultimately with Bacon's Ridge being a DOT road, DOT.
That was just my only, but as far as this goes, yeah.
And I would suspect, quite honestly, without speaking for DOT, but with the traffic light going in at the park and the library, which I think is still in the plans,
Right.
the likelihood that they would get a light there is very, very slim.
Yeah.
So, but in any
Yeah.
case.
All right.
Very
All right, is there a motion?
Yes, I motion that we rezone these parcels separately.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing and recommendation for second reading of rezoning request number 885 for Curtis Neat to rezone 1.2 acres located at 970 Clubhouse Road near Ridgeville, TMS number 175-00-00-019 from agricultural residential district AR to rural crossroads RX. I will open the public hearing.
Yes, sir. So this is a 1.2 acre parcel. There's been a structure on there for a long time. It's in a rural community. Previously, it had been used as a neighborhood bar, but they stopped operating in that capacity for a while. Under the absence of controls district, when it was originally established, it was a permitted use. Going forward, this is what we've written the rural crossroads zoning district for. These areas, these smaller pocket communities in the rural areas, so that you can have community services or community resources. So the use that they're requesting would be allowed within the rural crossroad district. The lot meets all the lot size requirements for the rural crossroads district. So we recommended approval, but Planning Commission, when they looked at it, they also recommended approval.
All right, is there any other comments, any other public comments on request number 885? I will close the public hearing.
I'll have no comments.
Is there a motion?
It's a motion. Yes, I motion that we approve.
So there is a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3 in favor. We are unanimous. The third item on the agenda is a public hearing and recommendation for second reading of rezoning request number 886 for Jamie, I'm going to try this and I'm going to apologize, for Jamie Conifee to rezone .27 acre located at 10574 Dorchester Road near Somerville, TMS number 153-09-06-007 from Single Family Residential District R2 to Neighborhood Commercial District CN. I will open the public hearing.
Yep, this is about a quarter acre, formerly a residential lot within a residential neighborhood. This was Dorchester Estates. We've seen this a lot along other roads, Bacon's Bridge, Dorchester, Ladson, where we've widened the road. Originally, it was residential community. Now, having single family along that road is not necessarily the desired use. When we look at it, there's other homes in the area that have either been rezoned or repurposed for commercial uses. It's not quite to the point or to the size where it could support general commercial, but we're very comfortable with neighborhood commercial. And all the infrastructure is there that is needed to support it. Comp plan supports it. So when we looked at it, we were comfortable recommending approval, and Planning Commission also recommended approval.
All right, thank you. Is there any other comments about rezoning request number 886? I will close the public hearing.
No comment.
Any questions?
No question.
Do I have a motion?
Eddie.
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
So there is a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3 in favor. We are unanimous. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing and recommendation for second reading of rezoning request number 887 for Locklear Consulting LLC to rezone 15.05 acre located at O.T. Wallace Drive, 122 and 124 Colquitt Street near Somerville, TMS number 129-00-00-057, 129-04-09-005-008 and -009 from mixed-use community district MUC to single-family residential district R2. I will open the public hearing.
Yep, this one's a little bit more involved than the others. This is 4 parcels totaling 15 acres, currently zoned MUC, and abuts Clemson Terrace and Azalea Ridge. The MUC zoning district allows a wide variety of uses. So it allows single-family detached homes, it allows manufactured homes communities, it allows townhomes, apartments, it allows commercial, it allows light manufacturing. So it runs the gamut as to what's allowed in a variety of densities. Right now, I believe that there is a developer who's been looking and working on this site, and they have almost got an approval for a mobile home park. But at this point in time, they'd like to change to single-family detached homes. Because the MUC district requires a half-acre minimum lot size, they're looking to rezone to R2 single-family residential and bring it back down to a more traditional single-family lot size. When we looked at it, we generally view this as a down zoning because they're limiting the number of options. That, instead they're getting rid of all the industrial uses, they're getting rid of all the commercial uses, they're getting rid of multifamily uses. They're limiting themselves very specifically to single-family residential. They are not having to do some of the trade-offs that you would do in MUC. So they're not having to provide the same amount of open space or buffers necessarily, but they're getting consistency and predictability with what use is going to ultimately be built on the site. I will note that Rumshill Creek does run through a portion of the site. You all may have seen some emails concerning flooding in that area. So Rumshill Creek does experience nuisance flooding with some significant rain events. And that's why that area has been classified as a special protection area. So they have additional stormwater measures that they will have to take into consideration no matter how they end up developing the site. So hopefully they'll actually be improving some of the drainage in there when they go to develop. When we looked at it, we viewed this as a net neutral or positive, so staff was comfortable recommending approval, and ultimately when Planning Commission reviewed it, they did recommend approval of the rezoning.
Any other comments on rezoning request number 887? I will close the public hearing.
I do have a question. You said Clemson Terrace?
Clemson Terrace.
Yes, and you also talked about mobile homes, and mobile homes will have to be on 1 acre lot?
No, so if you're doing an individual lot with an individual mobile home on it, that's a half-acre minimum lot size. If you're doing a mobile home community, then you have much higher density, and you can do, multiple, a more traditional mobile home community, mobile home park, where you've got a lot of lots in a little area.
And so, I got a phone call about concerns about all these different type of housing in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying that mobile home is one of the ones that's being considered, or they did not get the
They are ready to get approval. They can get approval. They haven't taken that final step for their approval. At this point, they're looking to shift development plans and do single-family homes.
Okay.
Site built.
So MUC would allow that park. MUC ultimately, and again, just from a standpoint, it's a catch-all. It's kind of our old AR a little bit. I guess it's the new AR, if you will. At some level, I mean, it's not absence of control, but it does allow a wide range of use, a lot more density. This is, if I would say, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, Mr. Frampton, I'm going to apologize, but if we tried to zone this ourselves from MUC to R2, the property owners may take us to court over that downzoning, is what I would suggest. They probably could, because it would be a downzoning, because it would limit the use that they currently have. Fair?
Always take us to court, they wouldn't prevail.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
We're not taking the dying on like another.
right.
yep, because of that particular piece, and I've had some calls and some concerns about that. And I wish that we could take that piece out, but I guess we cannot take that piece out. And I would have to not agree with that.
Yeah. So I think if you look at the map, the largest piece of the three is ultimately the piece that touches Rumpshill Creek. And the other key there is because it's in an AE zoned area, that whole end of that lot is in AE. That's a whole nother layer of stormwater engineering, I guess, that they would have to address to be able to develop that portion of that land. The portion outside of that that's not AE, certainly they could do, but that edge along O.T. Wallace is right there where, I mean, it's, I guess, Rumsfeld Creek, I don't know if it's on that lot or the lot next door, but
It
it's.
is on this one,
Okay,
and that's
so
partly
it's-
why they're proposing, most development scenarios we've looked at for this will take access off of Colquitt as opposed to O.T. Wallace.
So, any other questions?
No.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion?
No. All
All in favor? There's two in favor, opposed?
One.
And one opposed, two in favor, one opposed. Motion carries. Is there another motion?
I motion we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank y'all. Thank you.
2023 Dorchester County. I'd like to ask Councilwoman Holman to give the invocation. Please stand.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for all that you've done for us. Thank you for allowing each of us to make it here safe and sound. Heavenly Father, be with us as we do our committee meeting. Heavenly Father, may we be transparent, truthful, and honest to the things that we do here at council. We ask this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Tonight's Budget, Finance, and Purchasing Committee meeting is just one item on the agenda. It's a recommendation for second reading of an ordinance to exempt from property tax 42 and 7/100%, 42/75 of the fair market value of a watercraft and its motor pursuant to South Carolina Code initial section 12-37-220B 38B. This ordinance will take fair market value from 10.5% to 6%. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I got a motion by Mr. Hearn and a second by Mrs. Holman.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any other motions we have?
I motion we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Want to call to order the June 19th, 2023 Dorchester County Council meeting. Again, I'd like to ask Councilman Holman to lead us in invocation. Please continue to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all that you have done for us. Once again, we thank you for bringing us to our destination safe and sound. Heavenly Father, we ask that you take care of our first responders as they are out there defending everyone that is ill, sick, fires. Heavenly Father, take care of them. And we ask you, Heavenly Father, to take care of this council, each member, and ensure that they use sound mind and sound judgments on the decisions that they make today. And Heavenly Father, we ask that all our decisions be transparent and in good taste and in good favor for this county. We ask this in your Son, Jesus' name, amen.
First on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes from the June 5th, 2023 County Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Got a first, Ms. Holman, a second, Mr. Hearn. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Next on the agenda is the adoption of proclamation number 23-11 proclaiming June 19th, 2023 Juneteenth Day in Dorchester County. I'd like to recognize Councilwoman Holman.
Yes. The State of South Carolina, County of Dorchester, proclamation number 2311, proclaiming June 19, 2023 as Juneteenth Day in Dorchester County. Whereas Juneteenth Independent Day commemorate the traditional observance of the end of slavery in the United States and is observed annually on June 19th. And whereas President Abraham Lincoln declared that in giving freedom to the slaves, we ensure freedom to the free, honorable alike in what we give and what we preserve. We shall nobly save or meanly lose. The last best hope of earth end. Whereas on January the 1st, 1863, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation declaring that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state, the people whereof shall then be in rebellion against the United States, shall be then henceforth and forever free. And whereas more than 2 years would pass before the news reached African Americans living in Texas, when on June 19, 1865, Union Major General Garden Garner and his regiment arrived in Galveston and spread the word that slavery had been abolished. And whereas the following year, the first official Juneteenth celebration took place in Texas and had continued across the United States throughout the years. And whereas Emancipation Day in South Carolina was proclaimed in Port Royal Island on January the 1st, 1863. And for this reason, South Carolinians traditionally celebrate Emancipation Day on January the 1st. And whereas Juneteenth is the oldest national celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery, and in 2022, Juneteenth was designated as a federal holiday, and whereas Juneteenth is an important opportunity to honor the principles of the Declaration of Independence and celebrate the achievements and contributions African Americans have made and continue to make in Dorchester County, South Carolina, and across our nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Dorchester County Council hereby proclaim June 19, 2023 as Juneteenth Day in Dorchester County and encourage all citizens of Dorchester County to observe this day with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Adopted this 19th day of June, 2023 by S. Todd Friddle, Chairman, Dorchester County Council, attests Tracy L. Langley, Clerk of Council.
Need a motion? So moved.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mr. Byers, second by Mr. Chennis. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Something we've been doing lately, by the way, we get all the pictures done at one time. We're going to go through the resolutions and proclamations, and we'll come down and do all the pictures at one time. Next on the agenda is adoption and resolution number 23-18, a resolution in honor and to recognize Miss Carrie Pringle Boyd on the occasion of her 101st birthday. I'd like to recognize Clerk of Court, Miss Tracy Langley.
A resolution to honor and recognize Miss Carrie Pringle Boyd on her 101st birthday. Whereas Miss Carrie Pringle Boyd was born June 29, 1922 in Ridgeville, South Carolina, the daughter of the late Enoch and Geneva Yates Pringle. And whereas Miss Boyd was educated in the public school system of Dorchester County. And whereas Miss Carrie Pringle Boyd was joined in holy matrimony on April 10, 1939 to Mr. Leonard Boyd Sr. Their union was blessed with 4 sons, Mr. Howard Boyd, Mr. Leonard Boyd Jr., the late Mr. Timothy Boyd, and Mr. Romeo Boyd, and 6 daughters, Miss Joyce Pringle, Miss Eula Grant, the late Miss Shirley Sanders, Miss Connie Boyd, Miss Lenora Brown, and Miss Annelle Agnes Pinckney. And whereas Miss Boyd is the very proud grandmother of 39 grandchildren, 77 great-grandchildren, and 35 great-great-grandchildren. And whereas Miss Boyd is a faithful member of the Mount Pisgah African Methodist Episcopal Church, She was presented the Lifelong Torchlighter Award for more than 50 years of dedicated service by the Women's Missionary Society of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. And whereas those that know Miss Boyd have described her as follows: many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. Proverbs 31:29 through 31. And whereas Miss Boyd will celebrate her 101st birthday on June 29th, 2023, and spends her days doing what she enjoys the most. She calls or visits the sick and always has a care package for someone. Her favorite quote is, "You have to love everybody." I love everybody, but most of all, I love God. Now therefore be it resolved that Dorchester County Council is proud to honor this special lady on her upcoming 101st birthday and joins her family and friends in congratulating her on reaching this extraordinary milestone. Be it further resolved that upon adoption of this resolution, the original shall be presented to Ms. Carrie Pringle Boyd and a copy filed in the permanent records of Dorchester County, South Carolina. Adopted this 19th day of June 2023 by S. Todd Friddle, Chairman, attested by Tracy L. Langley, Clerk to Council.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I got a first and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, real quick, the numbers, I always thought I was lucky to be a great-grandson. I had 3 great-grandmothers of my parents' grandmothers. You got 35 kids out there that are super excited to have a great-great-grandchild, so that's an accomplishment, big time. Don't forget your great-great-grandmother at all.
I just think this is awesome, and she looks really good, and I'm praying that when I get to be 101, I'm looking and walking just like her. This is a blessing.
I hope I look that good at 61.
That's not going to happen.
Too late. Too late. Tough crowd.
Anybody? Ms. Pringle, we're glad, or Ms. Boyd, we're glad to have you here today, and from what I understand, you're still driving around a little bit. And that's pretty awesome. We're glad you're that still involved in the community, and we appreciate all you're doing. And we'll be down to get some pictures here in a little bit. All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda, adoption of resolution number 23-19, a resolution to recognize Murray United Methodist Church of the Somerville Parish on their 159th anniversary and the unveiling of a historical marker. I'd like to recognize Councilman Hearn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and proud to have Murray United Methodist Church in my council district, and certainly want to thank Mr. Charles Davis and Reverend Lily Davis for helping make this possible. And again, just a lot of momentous occasions happening here, not just the 159th anniversary, but also the unveiling of a historical marker on the grounds of the church, which is located on Orangeburg Road. And at this time, I'll do the resolution. State of South Carolina, County of Dorchester, Resolution number 23-19, to recognize and honor Murray United Methodist Church and to congratulate them upon the 159th anniversary of ministry and the unveiling of a historical marker on the grounds of Murray United Methodist Church of the Somerville Parish. Whereas Murray United Methodist Church is of great historical significance to the citizens of Dorchester County. Murray is one of the oldest African American churches in the Somerville area. And whereas Murray United Methodist Church is named after a member of the Murray family who provided the congregation's first place of worship. And whereas the Methodist congregation was organized around the end of the Civil War. Worshipers had no building, so worship services were held outdoors under a brush harbor. And whereas a wood frame church was constructed in 1910, they also opened Murray School, a public school for African American children. It was later known as Murray Branch School. The school closed in 1953. And whereas the first church was later brick veneered and still stands today. In the mid-1970s, members began building a new church just south of the old one. After several years of hard work and dedication, the church opened for worship in 1977 and remains in use today. And whereas Murray United Methodist Church exists because the founding members had a mission to glorify God and put faith and love into action. Today, the congregation honors those traditions by emphasizing God's grace and love through active engagement in the community and serving others. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Dorchester County Council is grateful for the faithful congregants of Murray United Methodist Church for their long-standing contributions to Dorchester County and wishes to congratulate them upon the 159th anniversary for a century and a half of service to the community. Be it further resolved that upon adoption of this resolution, the original shall be presented to United Methodist Church of the Somerville Parish and a copy filed in the permanent records of Dorchester County, South Carolina, adopted this 19th day of June, 2023 by S. Todd Friddle, Chairman. Attest, Tracy L. Langley, Clerk to Council.
So, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Any discussion?
Just again, very proud of this church and all they have done. And it's like a lot of things in life. You're standing on the shoulders of people who have made your church and your congregation great. And I know a few of the members there, one of which, Mr. Tucker, sold me my truck. So, but again, congratulations and a well-deserved honor for both the marker and the resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I just,
I know in the world today is, with Christianity being under attack all the time, I'm glad to see a church surviving 159 years, and that's something to be very proud of, and it's an honor for us to recognize you. Can we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
I tell you what, we're just going to come on down and do the pictures now because the rest are not presenting resolutions. So let's move down
Okay.
and we'll start with Juneteenth.
She's not here.
Miss Boyd. Yeah, just tell Ms. Connie.
Okay, next on the agenda is adoption of Resolution 23-20, a resolution to establish an inter-service fund for the purpose of accounting for centralized printing services.
So moved.
We got a first by Mr. Chennis, a second by Ms. Holman. Any discussion?
I'm just relieved initially when I looked at this, I thought it said the Internal Revenue Service. I was terrified, so thank you.
And that's the Internal Service Fund. All in favor? Aye. Next on the agenda is adoption of Resolution 23-21, a resolution authorizing Dorchester County to join the South Carolina Association of Counties Property and Liability Trust.
So moved.
Second.
We got a first by Mr. Chennis, a second by Mr. Hearn. Any discussion?
Are we sure we want? No.
If I'm not mistaken, won't this save the county $100,000 if I remember correctly, by moving to this fund? So this is a huge financial benefit for the county. All in favor? Aye.
Tim just got a lot of weight put on his shoulders.
Okay, next on the agenda is adoption of resolution number 23-22, a resolution approving the Dorchester County 5-year capital improvement plan for year 2024 through year 2028.
So moved.
Second.
I got a first by Ms. Holman, a second by Mr. Crosby. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chairman, before we go in, if I might, before we go into the request to address council, and maybe they were going to do that, but I want to recognize the folks from the Association of Counties that actually came down from Columbia. You guys want to come up and say something real quick about the P&L? Since we've got all that weight on your shoulders now?
Remember, you're going to save us some cash here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And
Yes,
yes,
sir.
we did come down, we make it a point since we started bringing the services forward to come down when a county decides to. We just want you to know we appreciate your trust in allowing our association to provide this service to Dorchester County. It's not just about the money. We sell the service. And we're hopeful that you will find, y'all have been with our workers' comp for us for a long time.
Right.
We love working with you, and with Jason and with Daniel and Mario. So we appreciate all that you allow us to do for you, and it's just another service we're happy to provide. So that's why we're here today. I know Robert is going to also present, I believe, y'all with an award as well. So we're always excited to be here. And besides, I'll use any excuse to come to Dorchester County to tell the truth. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. If y'all have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer it. But I just appreciate y'all adopting the resolution and look forward to providing the service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next on the agenda is it's time to recognize the citizens who completed a request to address council card. I'm called upon, please step to the podium, state your name, address, and 3 minutes. And we have Miss Carolyn Silverton. Yes, ma'am, please come forward, give your name and address.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Name is Carolyn Silverthorne. Address is 200 Rice Circle, Latson, South Carolina, 29465. My issue that I want to address is my mom is elderly, and she lives in the community of Southern Palms off of Miles Jamison Road. And again, they keep raising the water rates. Now, she lives on a fixed income, as do many of the senior citizens that live there. I used to live over in the city of Somerville, which is the community right next door, Somerville Place. Okay. And I just asked a friend of mine who still currently lives there, what is their water bill? And he said it's about $45. Okay. Now, my mom lives in Latson and it got raised to $97. And yet they're both in Dorchester County. So where's the fairness of that? Do you understand?
I mean, I will say this as a town resident, with town taxes versus having, and I lived in Summerhaven behind there as well. The one difference that is there as a town resident, my taxes are twice what they are as a county resident only. So the water is, and that's one of the benefits of living in the town. My water bill is less, but my taxes ultimately are twice what they are when I lived in unincorporated Dorchester County. And that's part of the trade-off of living in wherever you are, living in an incorporated area versus an unincorporated area is pay less for water, pay more for property taxes, substantially more. And the difference is probably at least the difference, more than the difference in what I pay for a water bill.
I understand that, but I thought that the water is paid by Dorchester County.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, the water, so the water districts are actually divided up by the COG. So water is not all from the same place. So we supply water to, I guess, I'm trying to think, that whole entire area, because we also supply water into Somerville Place and not Somerville Place. We supply it into Summerhaven, into Southern Palms, but Dorchester, that's Dorchester County Water, but you also have Somerville CPW, which is an entirely different entity. So you're actually getting water provided.
Right, so let me
from
ask
two
you
different-
this. Who provides the water? Dorchester County, the city of Somerville, or the city of Latson? And why is it so different?
So I think what Vice Chairman Chennis was trying to explain very specifically is there are several different providers in that particular area. What I can do, and he's listening to me, our water and sewer director is here. I have your telephone number that I won't read into the record, but I do have it from what you filled out.
Yes, sir.
And I will make sure that we follow up and give a very specific answer for that particular piece of
Yeah.
property. Because what I think has occurred is there is a separate provider for water and wastewater. And as such, I want to make sure it's the whole bill and not a portion of the bill when you gave the other example. But I can also explain our rates based upon that particular address.
Right, but sometimes, you know, my mother, who is 89 years old, along with several other citizens, I mean, I take care of my mom, I'm her caregiver, and it's just not fair that these elderly people should be expected to pay more. There has to be some kind of grandfather clause or something to have them, you know, within their rights to say, hey, no, if this next city or township or whatever it is, like in Somerville Place, as opposed to where I live now, why are they paying two different rates? That's not fair. It's not fair.
Well,
And I'm sure a lot of people in here have elderly parents.
I do, and they're
Yes,
they're
sir.
different utilities, and I'm in that specific position that you mentioned as being very frank about it, being the power of attorney responsible for paying bills on her behalf. So I would like to respectfully request that if we can have this conversation and look at the specific bill, come to some determination if there's something that can be done.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean, I've called the water department and they're like, we can't help you. So I'm like, okay, fair enough, fair enough. But anyways, I just wanted to address my concern, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ward, do we have any correspondence?
Mr. Chairman, two items of correspondence. The first item of correspondence is we'll be holding the first Conservation and Greenbelt Commission meeting. This is just an introductory meeting, and if any action will be taken, it will be the election of the chairperson and vice chairperson. They will also discuss their meeting schedule for upcoming meetings. The second item I want to bring to your attention is out at Sand Hill United Methodist Church, which I believe is at 1961 Sand Hill Road on Saturday. We will be holding an heirs property seminar, and that will be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So wanted to bring those couple of items both to council's attention and to the attention of the general public.
Mr. Chairman, what the Greenbelt Committee meeting, what's the date and time?
That's going to be this Wednesday, 4:30.
Location?
The location is here in County Council Chambers.
Next on the agenda is Mr. Van Henson, Risk Manager, South Carolina Association of Counties, presentation of Outstanding Safety Achievement Award of Risk and Safety Management. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, County Council. I'm Robert Benfield with the Association of Counties, Director of Insurance. Van couldn't be here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for allowing me to come before you all. In these challenging times, when we talk about county government in general, we hear a lot of negative things. But it's my pleasure tonight to come before you and highlight three very positive aspects of your risk management program. Risk management is simply what we do to keep bad stuff from happening. And even though you have a dedicated risk management team that does a great job for you, we have Nancy, Harvey, Courtney, and Audrey in place. Those risk managers can't do the entire thing by themselves. It takes a team to do this. And I want to highlight three things your risk management team has done tonight to save your county money and reduce injuries to your employees. The first is, every year we ask our counties to provide to us activities they have done that could save county employees money or reduce injuries. Secondly, we evaluate your losses. Dorchester County is one of the 41 counties in our Workers' Comp Trust. And I've got some great news tonight for you. Of the 41 counties, 4 of those counties received something called the Sustained Excellence in Risk Management. and Dorchester is one of the 4 in South Carolina to receive that award from us. It means not only did you meet our minimum standards for risk management, you exceeded them on a year-to-year basis. So the first time, I'd like to announce an award, Dorchester County Sustained Excellence in Risk Management Award. That's a huge accomplishment for your team. And to be successful, it takes the backing of your county employees, your risk management team, county administration, and county council. So thank you for your support for risk management in Dorchester County. Secondly, based on what you have done in risk management, there's something called an experience modifier. That determines your workers' comp premium every year. We take 3 years of losses, and we say, did you have the losses you should have had? Was it worse or better? If you had a 1, it means you achieved where you're supposed to be. If anything higher than a 1, it means you're penalized for worse losses. And if you have less than a 1, it means you've done a great job and saved your county money, and more importantly, you've protected the best asset of your county, which is your people. So I'm here tonight to tell you that your experience modifier is a 0.87. That means you guys were 13% less in claims, injuries to your employees than you were anticipated to be. So not only did we save employees' lives and reduce injuries, I want to let you guys know that you saved the taxpayers of Dorchester County over $300,000 off the workers' comp premium. That is quite an accomplishment. It shows that you guys are a great steward of the taxpayers' money. The final piece I would like to award you guys tonight is a Safety Achievement Award for civic achievement activity that your county did that resulted in saving employees or the public, either by financially or through reducing hazards. So I'd like to have Austin come up if you would. You're the first county in our program to actually have put scan codes in your public parks to allow the public and your employees to scan a code and report potential hazards to people. And it benefits you guys in many ways.
Thank you. Good evening. So I just was going to highlight the program a little bit. So it's a sign that the IT department and the county parks worked on. We couldn't have done it without them. Those guys are amazing. And we have placed them up along popular areas of the park, to which you'll pull out your phone, pull out your camera, it's a QR code, and take a picture. And then you're able to send us an email, and we require you to also send us a picture, so that if you run into some of the examples that we have seen is a piece of equipment on the playground has just gotten broken. Maybe they were there when it got broken. They took a picture of it, they sent it to us. We were able to hop over there and fix it without anybody else hopping on that piece of equipment and getting hurt. And we've found that it's bleeding over into operational issues too. Did a trash can forget to get picked? Did it get missed? Well, somebody gives us a shout, we go pick it up so that we can ensure the top level quality of an experience for anybody coming to our parks. So we're very, very honored for this. So many other facilities department is huge helping us with this. And so thank you very much.
Austin, you're welcome. Once again, this shows how proactive your county has been on risk management, and the dedication and support coming from all levels has made you guys very successful. So Nancy, if you and your team would like to come up, I'd like to take a picture of you guys, present these awards to you. Austin, come on up. And council, please come down for the. Oh, absolutely. It truly takes a team to be successful, guys. You've got quite a team here.
No, you're still right.
I think we're gonna have to.
I know. I know.
Is this also an award for not killing us?
We're managing the risk.
It was managed.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate everybody. We're all good. That's good. Thank you so much.
I know, right? Could you imagine?
Thank you so much. Appreciate everything you guys do.
Hey.
Also, I'd like to correct myself. That was Robert Benfield. I'm sorry about that, sir. And if I'm also counting, we're up to saving $400,000 so far in this one meeting. So that's pretty awesome so far. Next on the agenda, we have Mr. Daniel Prentice, the County Deputy Administrator, CFO presentation for the May monthly budget report and updates on capital projects, sir.
Good evening. Go through the May budget report and our vertical construction updates. Coming into the end of the fiscal year here, I'll start out with the general fund. Total budget for the general fund is $80,077,000. Year to date, we've collected $71.74 million in revenue. The delta there predominantly in additional property tax collections, charges for services, and an appropriation of fund balance that we don't intend to need to use associated with last year's compensation study. And then total expenditures to date of $71.1 million. In the capital fund, total budget of $9,084,000. Revenues year to date of $8.4 million and expenditures of $6.5 million. There is an update here on the American Rescue Plan Act fund. We've just continued to post additional interest earnings on the proceeds sitting in that account, and you'll have updates on all of the projects and whether or not they've been completed. No substantial updates within that category this month. The fire fund, total budget of $9.9 million, revenues year to date of $8.8 million, and expenditures of $8.3 million. Water and sewer fund, total budget of $50.8 million, revenues of $40.4 million, and expenses of $32.1 million. Water and sewer impact fees, total budget of $25.9 million, revenues of $7.2 million, and as I've noted in the past, the charges for services budget is $7.1 million. So between charges for services and interest, we have met our budget for the fiscal year. The remaining is use of fund balance appropriation for projects, and total expenses of $1.1 million. Stormwater fund, total budget of $10.2 million, revenues of $5.1 million, and expenses of $2.8 million. And you'll note there in the stormwater fund, we do have some budgeted bond proceeds that are throwing that budget off a little bit from the normal budget. So that's what the delta is there for the bridge replacement projects. Solid waste fund of $9.2 million, revenues of $8.7 million, and expenses of $6.8 million. So no major updates this month. We'll have our June pre-fiscal year close report to you next month before we get into the audit. Happy to answer any questions, and I have capital projects. All right. So connector for Ash River Park and Rosebrook Park, we did actually receive the 30% drawings and a memo on constructability the first week of June, and so we're reviewing that now, along with the pricing estimate to try to get into 60% drawings based on the connection to the bridge. So we'll have more information on that in the upcoming month. Edisto Lakes, we've scheduled a kickoff meeting for the master planning effort and have engaged the tree survey and other due diligence tasks for the projects and are working to schedule the kickoff meeting for midsummer. For EOC, the parking lot past proof rolling and paving activities are underway. The interior concrete has been cleaned and prepped for stain and seal, and a third-party subcontractor with access control and IT data systems are underway. We're anticipating substantial completion in the next month. Health and Human Services campus, construction continues. New water and sewer lines have been run in the building in the trenches that were dug throughout the existing facility. The trenches are being backfilled now, and after those inspections occur with new concrete installation, we'll get working on framing up the walls inside that building. Jedburgh Fire Station, we're working with Lee and Associates and EdCon to peruse options for land in order to be able to determine where this station will be located. So we've executed a task order for those due diligence services, and this is a new project being added to the list for tracking every month. Ladson Road Fire and EMS, substantial completion is anticipated around June 18th. We're right up on that right now, and they're in there doing final polishing of the concrete and getting ready for appliance installation, and we have the ribbon cutting ceremony scheduled for July 11th. Law enforcement complex renovation, first coat of paint has been applied to the walls in one phase. We've actually gotten beyond that in another phase with flooring being installed and cabinetry being installed, and then furniture was actually delivered last week. Redevelopment of 500 North Main Street, We're continuing discussions with staff and other involved parties to negotiate the development agreement and the other documents required to complete the sale of 500 North Main Street. And we've sent the letter of intent, or excuse me, the letter approved by County Council of the Town of Somerville to request to move the property from the Midtown TIF District. New Coroner's Office, we had a kickoff meeting with Tupco, who's one of our jock contractors, and they're taking our facilities master plan from 2019, as well as the program for the Coroner's Office and beginning to put plans together. We've had 2 meetings on that, and of course that project is being funded by an allocation from the Town of Somerville through the Midtown TIF District. North Charleston Branch Library, we are still tracking to substantial completion for July 31st. Sheetrock and painting is complete, windows are being installed. We did have a 2-week delay on the delivery of the HVAC system, but we're not anticipating any schedule delay because we've authorized the contractor to bring in temporary cooling in the meantime in order to be able to continue construction. Oak Brook Library, footers have been poured and the slab work is going to begin when the footers are inspected. Ultimately, they decided to move into the vertical elements being installed as those arrived to the site a little bit early, and then we had the beam signing last week. So they're progressing on schedule and actually a little bit ahead of the stated schedule for the steel installation, so that's good news. Oak Brook TIF Sports Complex, we have negotiated the development agreement with the YMCA and their council. And now we're working on the management agreement. So the development agreement ultimately dictates the county's requirements to construct the facility, and the management agreement discusses the operations, both agreements being required before the land can be conveyed. So we're anticipating having that wrapped up in the next week in order to be able to present those documents to council. The TIF streetscaping and trails, we received 60% plans and are reviewing those, and have also sent them off to one of our jock contractors for pricing. And then while the 100% plans are being developed, we have asked for ground penetrating radar testing to be done in the medians on Ladson Road in order to determine the location of the Dominion Energy gas line that runs through that area, so that that can influence 100% design. And then ultimately we'll be able to get a good idea of cost whenever we get to that point, because that'll have a big impact potentially on the locations of the lights and some of the stormwater runoff. Pine Trace Natural Area, we've got our permits from the town and from DHEC in order to allow for construction activities to commence, and so mobilization is still ongoing given the amount of disturbed area with silt fencing, double-back silt fencing, and tree protection on the site. Ridgeville Library, we provided the MOU to the town of Ridgeville for review, and we'll revisit that once we have some more information on the downtown Somerville Library. Summers Corner Fire and EMS, they're finalizing plans for the site on Clayfield Trail, and we'll price those upon receipt. I understand things are moving as anticipated there. And then lastly, the Somerville Branch Library, we're having discussions with the YMCA about the location of the property, but have paused design until we can get those elements wrapped up. And then I did miss one with Swan Drive Park. So we're working through the budget and have a meeting scheduled. We had one last week with the contractor to try to de-scope that project a bit to determine where we were with the budget and what the next steps would be, as it came in around $900,000 and we had about $430,000 left in the budget after the design and engineering. Fortunately, it looks like we may have an opportunity to consider some other avenues for funding in the future as we get into the next month, and so we'll bring recommendations back to council at that point in time. That concludes the report.
Mr. Chairman, I got two, well, probably easy ones, but Edison Lake Park's on the master plan. What is it the Parks Commission that's doing all of this, or is it in conjunction? I guess I'm kind of curious. I'd be interested to know. Mr. Byers and I have talked about this. Mr. Frill and I went to Hemingway last Friday, and there's some pretty interesting opportunities, and I don't know how that works, but that's something certainly that I'd love to be able to at least.
We're looking at the concept you and I discussed,
Yeah.
is the concept that we are driving towards, yes.
The other item I think was Somerville Branch Library. Based on where we are in the conversation we've had with the Y, and just asking this, this is somewhat rhetorical when I ask this, but looking at additional sites potentially at this point in time, hopefully we're looking at additional sites somewhere in town, in Somerville, somewhere at least within the geographical limits of downtown Somerville as an option, just in case this one continues to drag very, very slowly along.
Yes, so on your first question, we've engaged Stantec as one of our on-call consultants for Edisto Lakes, and then have also engaged ESP Associates and another firm to do the tree survey and some of the environmental due diligence. And so we're all just in a scoping and existing conditions mode right now to get all of that data back And then once we get all of that back to understand the constructability of the master plan, then we'll engage Parks and Recreation Commission, staff in the Parks Department, County Council to be able to assist in putting the master plan together and engage with the public to go through some charrettes and understanding what the desire is to have elements on that property. So very preliminary right now in terms of what we're doing, but we had to get everybody engaged so that we could get those subs working on the same sheet of music with Stantec in order to be able to get some due diligence done on what's out there and where the wetlands are going to impact construction and some of those other pieces. And then on downtown Somerville, yes, that's the direction that we'll have to pursue. But at this point in time, given the success of the North Charleston Branch Library and the Oak Brook Library and where we are in construction there, we've been focusing a tremendous amount of energy to get those over the finish line, especially with North Charleston being ready at the end of end of next month. And so we'll continue to work towards that as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask Mr. Ward a question, and then I want to just give a little shout out.
It is not the Oak Brook Library. It's the library near the Ashley River.
That's what we call it in the financial system. Is
Yes,
the
sir.
library. So I can't help
say that
continue to
just
do
in
that and
case
watch
I was
eyebrows
anticipating the
raise.
question.
I didn't even ask that.
There's some constituents that challenge that geography from time to time.
We have not approved the signage package or the official roadside sign for that project. When we get to that submittal, we will make sure everybody's on the same page. We can call it Project Ashley River Library right now as far as we're concerned, and we'll get to that point probably late summer, early fall.
No apologies. People are excited regardless. So
Yes.
I got a couple other things, Daniel. And we've got some news that I'd love for Mr. Ward to share. I know we're going to be sharing a little bit, but the delegation's done this county right. And I think it's worth just listing out a couple of projects that we're aware of. And I'd like to Jason, you mind reading those out? What we
Sure.
got some funding
Sure.
for from the delegation? I think it's really important.
Sure. So earlier this year, the delegation approached the county about how they could assist us with our capital improvement plan. And earlier tonight, the county council approved the 5-year additional projects to the capital improvement plan. We received news today that our delegation was able to secure funding for several projects within the county. First of which is a pedestrian crossing of Bacon's Bridge Road, which will connect the Ashley River Park and our library site along with Rosebrook Park, at $2.2 million. Another additional one that was requested is a Veterans Service Center in St. George to be located on the courthouse property, $500,000 for that. Of course, council had already set aside some funding for that. A third project is a project in the city of North Charleston. It's a Dorchester County Senior Center. Several months ago, Mayor Summey approached Dorchester County and the delegation as well about an opportunity to have a park in that area. That particular project, $2 million in this initial fiscal year for 2024, an additional $2 million in 2025, and a third $2 million for a total of $6 million in 2026. The Oak Brook YMCA project, which is a TIF project that we've been partnering with the YMCA on and getting very close to completing, $1 million in the current fiscal year upcoming for 2024, and then an additional $1 million in FY 2025. And then last but not least, we partner with Dorchester Paws to help us with our animal shelter. They will be receiving $750,000 in the upcoming fiscal year, fiscal 2024, an additional $750,000 in fiscal 2025 for a total of $1.5 million. And none of this would be possible without the leadership and support of our delegation. And we're very appreciative for them partnering with County Council and helping us to implement our capital improvement plan.
And so I appreciate that, Mr. Ward. I mean, that's, for those who haven't been paying attention, that's huge. This is the first time that since I've been here for 12 years that the delegation's brought these type of projects and these type of monies back to Dorchester County in a very significant way. And it's a big deal. Chris Murphy, Gary, Robbie, Sean, Gil, the guys in Somerville really working hard to bring that stuff home. But that $2.2 million to connect the Ashley River Park and Rosebrook Park and the future park land that we have purchased up the river, that's a big deal. We didn't really have good funding for that, and they worked hard to really work with us. So certainly appreciate them on that particular project because that one's near and dear to my personal heart because we've been working on it. So I'm super excited to see that come to fruition, but all of the other ones were great. and certainly appreciate our delegation really working hard. That seniority that Representative Murphy has right now with the, he's going to be on the State Infrastructure Bank for road funding. Those are big deals for Dorchester County, so we're excited about that. Thank you, Mr. Ward, for allowing me to just say something about that. I really appreciate our delegation on that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm real quick to add to that at some level with the delegation, with what they've done, and I'm going to give a shout out to Josh sitting out here in the audience for the Association of Counties, because the other thing that came through in this recent budget, in addition to these budgetary items, was the statutory funding of the local government fund. We have not been able to say that. For most of my time on county council, we have not been able to say that, but that doesn't happen without the leadership of the Association of Counties and Josh and his team specifically in Columbia. So you're here, you got to shout out. So.
Mr. Chairman, and just will echo what Mr. Chennis just said. He is absolutely correct. That is a huge announcement as well. And thanks to our legislative delegation for doing something that, at least for Mr. Chennis and Mr. Byers and myself and Mr. Ward and others, this is, with regard to the crossing at Bacon's Bridge, this is an ask that we've been persistently asking about. I believe 2014 is probably about the time we started doing that. And sometimes it takes a lot of time. I mean, it does, it doesn't mean you stop asking. We have some good history of being persistent and staying in and, being rewarded for that. And, just want to certainly thank our delegation. We appreciate that, but also thanks to those here at the county level who were persistent in coming back again and again on that, because that is a huge need. It is with everything that's happening in that area, it's going to be great. So that's a big announcement. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to also thank our delegation for the funds that they have provided for the Veterans Center here in Dorchester County, because when this building is built and we get a chance to move the Veteran Affairs Office to this location, we'll be able to help so many different veterans from all around Dorchester County and other counties as well. And my belief is when you make sure that veterans get what they're entitled to as far as benefits, when you could take the opportunity to have a place for them to go when they have mental illness, to just have a place to talk to other veterans, it makes a huge difference in their lives. And benefits that are given to veterans that they deserve changes their lives. So this facility that we'll be able to have here in this county for veterans to come to is just, and I can't say thank you enough for them. And I know every veteran in Dorchester County will appreciate it. So I thank the delegation as well.
I know for me, I don't know if you noticed, but it's hitting all areas of the county. We've got Dorchester Paws, which is a desperate need. We've got the YMCA. We've got a joint venture between the city of North Charleston and Dorchester County for Senior Center, the Veterans Center, and the pedestrian bridge. They really came to the table. They really did, and we need to really reach out and appreciate what they've done for us for the first time, from my understanding.
And I think it's worth pointing out what Bill mentioned and David mentioned. When I first got on council, me and David first got on council, it was very frustrating because we were constantly having to fund the shortage from the state funding. They were not giving us what they were supposed to just by their own statute, which was very frustrating. Well, not only have they actually made that up, but now we've got a delegation who a lot of people consider as one of the strongest in the entire state, really helping Dorchester County. We've been on donor county for a long time, and our infrastructure is significantly behind. We've got some state leaders that get it. They appreciate it. They work well with us, and we appreciate working with them. It's nice to see those kind of things starting to come back home where we really need them. It's nice because we've been paying, our taxpayers have been paying for Charleston's roads and Berkeley's roads for a long time. Every time they go shopping over there, it's nice to see some money come back home to be able to build our much-needed infrastructure projects. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and Council, I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to recognize some of the other members of the delegation. Ms. Hallman specifically talked about the Veterans Project, and Robbie Robbins and Representative Joe Jefferson, and last but definitely not least, Gilda Cobb Hunter and Senator Stevens were really instrumental in securing those funds. And as many of you know, Gilda Cobb Hunter in particular is a very senior ranking member of the House.
Yes, sir.
And on House Ways and Means, and it's been a very great supporter of this association as well as the county.
Well,
Thank you
further
all.
questions for me, I'll pass it off to Mr. Caraher and Mr. Harper.
I hope Mr. Carrer's bringing some cash with him too.
I don't have any cash on me. Somebody else holds that for me. First project it has the bridge replacement design build prep. We're waiting for proposals. They'll actually be in on Wednesday, so we'll be able to see what some of the pricing is and who submits. So the next update will have a lot more information. Clemson Terrace drainage study. We closed Thorpe Road to do a lot of the improvements. We're actually going to reopen it. We're waiting on a couple manholes to be delivered so we can do some sewer line relocations. And while we're waiting on that, we figured we'd go ahead and open the road back up. So that detour will be removed, but it will be put back in a few weeks. So Eagle Creek and Chandler Creek, that should actually say trail. But the contractor is working between Latson and just past the overflow structure. They put in all of the base course, and now they're working on the asphalt course. So that's going along pretty well. Weather does kind of hamper us a little bit just because of the amount of water and the low area out there. So the few setbacks that we've had been mostly attributed to weather. First Bend Road, we did meet with our engineers to determine the best path forward. During the course of that conversation, we noticed some off-site improvements. This is in the Harlowville area. I noticed some off-site improvements that we can make as well, so we added that to the project. And we submitted a grant in the amount of just over $1.1 million to the Office of Resiliency. And we expect to hear something back from that. So if we're able to obtain that grant, that'll pay for most of the construction. Summer Branch Trail Extension, we have been in contact with our engineer there. We're working on the task order to begin the engineering and permitting and modeling for that project. I expect to have something to Mr. Ward's desk this sign by next week. SC 27 widening, we are coordinating with the COG and the EDA. That continues. Utility coordination continues. We're working with the power company specifically so they can go ahead and begin their work. And we're also purchasing right away. We've been given permission from the DOT to move forward with right away purchasing. So we've been in contact with the property owners, working on appraisals, that sort of thing. In US 78 Phase 2B, the 5-lane section of this roadway is complete. The 3-lane section is nearly complete as far as the asphalt base work goes. We have a small section along where the culvert extension was put in, but they're pouring the wing walls right now for that culvert. And once those are set and the formers are pulled, they'll be able to continue that earthwork as well as the paving. Right now, September 5th is the scheduled substantial completion date. With that, I'll answer any questions. All right.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Harper, the history of today.
History of today. Good evening, council. In June, the 25th Army Corps arrived in Galveston, Texas, comprised of 1,000 soldiers. They captured Galveston, chasing out the Confederate government and their soldiers into Mexico. June 19th, Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, delivered General Order Number 3, announcing the end to legalized slavery in Texas. That's where we get the Juneteenth. You saw those celebrations. But I want to throw another one at you. June 19th, 1910, the first Father's Day was celebrated in Spokane, Washington. Happy Father's Day to those gentlemen. Thank you. We really appreciate you. Second phase of Stratton 2 and Barrett Street, we're still receiving materials in our warehouse. And as soon as we receive the final pieces, we'll begin work on that project. Counterflow wells, we're still waiting on our VFDs on those supply chain issues. We do expect to mobilize for construction mid-July. For DSS, the Pump Station 4 Force Main, we attended that mandatory skip meeting. We actually had a mandatory meeting last week with the COG it was actually for the grant startup, and our engineers are now working to provide our 90% plans as well as easement documents for that project. For the Edisto Tribal Council tank, the Edisto Electric has installed overhead power. We're waiting to finish up our installation and testing. We also added a little piece of work to that project so that it would be able to operate on our emergency generators. So once that piece is complete, we will close out that project entirely. For the force mains and gravity sewer rehab, we have actually relocated some funds from other projects, and these projects will consist of the Coosaw Creek Interceptor, Quaker Road, Pump Station 119, and the Sweetbriar sewer improvements. So we're going to shift those to kind of address those particular areas. Lower Dorchester wastewater treatment plant expansion to 16. We're looking at that GMP 3 very closely. That's a project that's very dear to my heart, to say the least. If you haven't taken a ride down by the plant, it is now a real active construction site. Demolition has been occurring. The good news is that there was supposed to be a delay of almost 6 months to receive a construction permit, but due to efforts from the county administrator and also from my esteemed colleague, Public Works Director, we have in our hand the construction permits for Lower Dorchester Wastewater Treatment Plant. Looking at Maple Street relocates, we're still doing that condemnation for those properties so that that thing can be constructed. Poplar Grove, we're finalizing all the easements for that property for that sewer. For Pump Station 115, contractor was given a notice to proceed on the 15th, and he is actually beginning to work as we speak. For Pump Station 10, influent rehabilitation, we've got the inspection complete, and we're now compiling all the deficiencies so that we can actually form that into a active project. Reedsville Well, similar problems in terms of supply chain. Contractor will be mobilizing on July 15th. Summer Haven Water Line improvements, that project's under design, and we're working on the permits for that project. And the water line extension from the career school to Hollyville Middle and elementary schools, that project is in permitting. For the Winding Woods Reach project, the contractor is trying to close out that project, finishing up a few of the electrical items. The Reach contractor has put in 33,620 feet of 16-inch pipe and 1,500 linear feet of 12-inch pipe. And there, if you've noticed, of driving up 78, they have mobilized for a directional drill to get under some of the gas lines in that particular area. And with that, it completes my report. Any questions?
Much appreciated, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next on the agenda is County Administrator's time.
Mr. Chairman and Council, I have a couple items for your consideration. On the first item, I'm going to ask Council to consider an amendment prior to third reading. So the first item is third reading of an ordinance number 23-15, the Dorchester County Budget Ordinance for fiscal year 2023-2024, an ordinance to make appropriations for county government, educational, and fire protection purposes for Dorchester County for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024, to levy taxes for the payment thereof and to provide for the expenditure of said taxes and other revenues coming into the county. And the amendments are as follows. I would ask that County Council consider the following. The general fund shall include the following adjustments: increase transfer in from library fund in the amount of $67,418. The total revenue for the general fund shall increase from $82,505,781 to $82,573,199. Increase various line items in facilities management to hire additional custodians to support the libraries in the amount of $67,418. The total expenditures for the general fund shall increase from $82,505,781 to $82,573,199. The second amendment is the library fund shall include the following adjustments: increase use of fund balance in the amount of $67,418. The total revenue for the library fund shall increase from $4,673,668 to $4,741,086. Increase transfer out to general fund by $67,418. The total expenditures for the library fund shall increase from $4,673,668 to $4,741,086. And then finally, the water and sewer fund shall include the following adjustments: increase use of fund balance in the amount of $2,888,468. The total revenue for the water and sewer fund shall increase from $38,499,391 to $41,387,859. Increase capital project budget related to the regional water interconnection in the amount of $2,888,468. Transfer funding in the amount of $55,244 from expansion of system to fund and administrative support specialist for position in the water and sewer fund. The total expenses for the water and sewer fund shall increase from $38,499,391 to $41,387,859. And that is the recommended amendments. You will note that the first set of amendments are related to the library and providing additional custodial support, and that the second was to provide additional local match for the regional water interconnection, where we receive funding from RIA, as well as to provide a transfer in order to fund the administrative for position.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adopt third reading of ordinance number 2315 as amended.
Second.
We've got a first and we've got a motion and a second. Mr. Jennison, Mr. Hearn, any discussion?
Just
Yep, go ahead, Mr.
No, you're senior.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome.
Indeed, thank you. Mr. Ward, the part of the amendment regarding the custodial services, it enables us to realize some savings versus having it done privately. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The library had been securing that service through a private entity at $99,000. So we're saving approximately $32,000 a year by bringing this in-house.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Just a quick question on the budget. I mean, this has come to me, it's a little bit specific, but once we open the North Charleston Library and the Oak Brook, Swamp Fox, Francis Marion, Lord Cornwallis, Ashley River, Bacons Bridge Road, Oak Brook Library, will we be keeping the Charlie Road branch open, or will we shut that down until we do Somerville? Because I've had that question asked.
So the Somerville Branch Library, located on Trolley Road, will remain open until such time as the downtown Somerville Branch Library opens.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I also believe that is the Richard Rosebrock Memorial Ashley River Library / Ashley River Park. Sorry, I
Yes, sir.
apologize.
Duly noted.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
The second item I have for your consideration is the third reading of rezoning request number 883 for Vivian Grooms to rezone .56 acre located at 803 Boone Hill Road near Somerville, TMS number 14407060002 from single-family residential manufactured housing district R2M to neighborhood commercial district CN. Ask for third and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
I got a first from Mr. Chennis, a second from Mr. Crosby. Any discussion? All in favor?
And Mr. Chairman, if I can, I want to express our appreciation to staff for the budget that was prepared, all the time and energy that went into that, and also express my appreciation to County Council for the time, energy, and effort with reviewing the budget, attending the retreats, and providing a strategic plan as a guide for the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have a committee report from Chairman Chennis for Planning, Development, and Building Committee.
Mr. Chairman, we had 4 items on the agenda tonight. 3 of them were met with unanimous approval, and if I can, I would like to do 3 in 1 to try to take these all at one time, and they all passed, but just because they were not all unanimous. So, rezoning request number 884 for Robert and Sally Limehouse. I keep doing this. Sally Limehouse Cheatham. A rezoning from suburban residential to general commercial was 3 in favor, none opposed. Rezoning request number 885 for Curtis Neat to rezone 1.2 acres on Clubhouse Road from agricultural residential to rural crossroads was again unanimous in approval. The third item was a public hearing and rezoning request number 886 for Jamie Conifee to rezone 0.27 acres on Dorchester Road from single-family residential R2 to neighborhood commercial. That again was unanimous. All 3 of those items would come with unanimous, I'm sorry. Yeah. Do need to, I'll go back and touch on that. Those three items were all unanimous. On the first item, just to clarify, 884, the request that came in from the Planning Commission as well as the initial recommendation was to eliminate, it's two TMS numbers, and the initial request was eliminate those based on the plat that we received and the information that I specifically had on the wetlands that delineate or separate those 2 pieces. We agreed to basically approve it without the condition of eliminating the lot lines and creating a single TMS number. So that's the only change that you would see, but those 3 items were unanimous. The other one, again, as it passed, it was 2 in favor, 1 opposed, and that was a public hearing and recommendation for second reading of 887 for Locklear Consulting to rezone 15 acres. And it's a number of TMS numbers read earlier into the record from mixed-use district MUC to single-family district R2. And just to be very clear, the one reason why there was a vote against it was a clarification on it. As MUC, it allowed mobile homes. When we rezoned it to R2, it actually disallowed that, and that was one of the main reasons why she was not in favor of that. Ultimately, a further explanation. We may have had an opportunity for her to change that, but nonetheless, in any case, it was 2 in favor, 1 opposed. So all of those items received a positive report from PDB for approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the committee. Any questions?
No, I do want to thank Mr. Chennis for clearing it up for me. I do appreciate it.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is a report from Budget, Finance, and Purchasing Committee at 5:50. Recommendation for second reading on an ordinance to exempt from property tax 42 and 73.25%, 42.75% for fair market value of a watercraft and its motor persistent to South Carolina Code in Section 12-37-220B, 38, and B. This will let the fair market value from 10.5 to 6, and it was passed unanimously.
You've heard the recommendation of the committee. All in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Next on the agenda is any appointments to the boards or commissions.
Real nice.
Any appointments to the boards or commissions? I do have one. I want to appoint Mr. Ray Walsh to the Greenbelt Committee. Yes, sir.
Well, question, is he not serving on, is it CTC or DCTA?
DCTA.
They are
Can he dual
they
serve?
not eliminate the DCTA?
We haven't voted that.
Not yet.
Into.
Not yet, so that's in, okay, I thought that was already done.
Again, not in any way opposed to his appointment, but it.
Well, I am.
Okay, well, there you go.
Okay.
You want to remove him from the DCTA?
Chairman right now? Is he chairman of DCT or is that Steve? Vice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll hold off on that one.
Yeah, probably a good idea. And I'm sorry to throw that wrench there, but he is still in good standing.
Yes.
Is that an issue?
Not good, but he's good standing.
Right. Is that, I mean, that is an issue, right? He can't be on two committees.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that is correct. The appointment, Mr. Walsh is serving on DCTA. He could not also be appointed to and serve on Greenbelt Committee at the same time. Is that correct?
He could, because Greenbelt is, first of all, not created by state law, it's created by county ordinance. And secondly, they do not exercise any sovereign authority. They're purely advisory. They cannot spend money. So in my opinion, it would not be dual office holding.
Okay, thank you. Well,
Second?
I made a motion to have a second. Any questions?
Well, I got plenty.
sorry about that.
All in favor? Aye. Now we have a full Greenbelt board. Next on the agenda is our county attorney's time, Mr. John Frampton, back from his travels abroad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. I'm delighted to be back, believe it or not. I was worn out. First of all, tonight, duly advertised was a public hearing, the purpose of which is to receive public input regarding a proposed conveyance of real estate, which is a portion of property owned by Dorchester County, to an entity known as Murchison Family Properties LLC. The parcel under contract or purported contract will contain 76.7 acres, of which approximately 31.7 acres are highland and developable, and the sales price is $55,000 per acre of developable land. I would request that at this time, the public hearing be opened and public comments be received.
I'd like to open a public hearing in reference to the sale of a portion of the Lot 13 in Winding Woods Commerce Park. If anyone would like to speak on this rezoning, you will please state your name and address, and we will please keep it to your comments to 3 minutes. I'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would request that County Council authorize the county administrator to execute the purchase agreement between Dorchester County and Murchison Family Properties LLC. The public hearing was previously held just moments ago. I would point out to council that the paragraph 2 of the agreement provides that earnest money, and what has happened in the contract that's been presented to council, it says in words that the earnest money deposit will be $20,000, yet in figures, the number is $25,000. The earnest money deposit will be $25,000, and the language will be corrected to conform to that number. So with that change to what was presented to council in its package, I would request that council authorize the administrator to sign.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion by Ms. Holman and a second by, oh, read them out, I'm sorry, read it. I knew it was from that end down there. I got a motion from Ms. Rink and from Councilman Rink and a second by Councilman Chennis. Do you have any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Next, Mr. Chairman, I'd request second reading of an ordinance to amend the existing agreement governing the Dorchester-Orangeburg County Industrial Park between us and Orangeburg County to enlarge the boundaries of the park to include certain property now or hereafter owned or operated by Project Fracture. I'd request second reading of that ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
I got a first from Councilman Chinnis and a second from Councilman Holman. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just have, I'm sitting here looking at the back. Had we not identified Project Fracture in the previous? Still not?
No.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Next, Mr. Chairman, I would request second reading of the ordinance approving the agreement for the transfer of certain water service territory between the town of St. George and Dorchester County and authorizing and empowering the county administrator to execute the agreement by and on behalf of Dorchester County Council. I'd request second reading of that ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
I got a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, Mr. Chairman, I request first reading by title only to an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a development and supply agreement by and between Dorchester County, South Carolina, and a company identified for the time being as Project Orchid, acting for itself, one or more affiliate successors, transferees, and/or assigns in connection with the establishment and/or expansion by the company of certain facilities in the county, which is commonly known as the project, and other matters relating thereto. Request first reading by title only.
So moved.
Second.
I got a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Lastly, Mr. Chairman, I'd request approval and authorize the county administrator to execute an intergovernmental agreement between Dorchester County and the town of Somerville regarding the Cedar Street extension. The only change that I would request to be made at this time versus what was provided to you in your package is a deletion of a sentence to paragraph Roman numeral 4, subparagraph B as in boy. That paragraph is entitled successors/assigns, which includes a sentence which really makes no sense to be included in the document at all. That sentence to be deleted would be the sentence that says, any necessary change orders shall be subject to paragraph Roman numeral 5, subsection D, here and below provided. As you know from the agreement, we are agreeing to pay right-of-way acquisition costs of $785,000, and that is our total responsibility for that portion of the work. There will be no change orders for which we'll be responsible. So I would request that that sentence be deleted. Otherwise, I'd request that the administrator be authorized to sign.
So, second.
I got a first from Mr. Crosby, a second from Ms. Holman. Any discussion?
Just to be very clear, the motion is to approve that with the deletion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And just to point out the importance of the project, what exactly is this project going to do? I mean, what's the? I already know. I know the answer to the question.
Currently, Cedar Street terminates at 9th.
Yep.
It will be extended to 17A in Berkeley County.
So we'll get some relief on the downtown corridor from some congestion.
So the thought is it would relieve some of the congestion that's currently occurring on 17A. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Administrator, just to be very clear, it only relieves it if Berkeley County agrees to improve the remainder of.
Yes, sir. And so there's an additional IGA that Berkeley County approved to fund the right-of-way on the Berkeley County side of the project.
Great. It's nice to work together with other entities to get things done.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any other motions?
Well, I do have a motion, but before I say that, I'd like to just thank the individuals from West the western end of the county for the last 3 months have been attending the council meetings up here. I have, thank you, Ms. Felder. And several others were here, but they have left. Just want to make that noted that they are participating and coming up here as well. Thank you very much. And I do have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second? All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.